Ciao, jewelry making friends. My name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my work table. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm really having a great day. It is a stormy day outside, and it's a little bit dark, and I have the house all to myself, which is really rare. So of course I run to make jewelry, and I love what I'm working with today. This is going to be my next two projects with a box that I collaborated on with Stella of didi'sbeads. We called it Didi and Joey's Designer Inspired Collection, and the name of the box was Color Poetry, and it truly is. It was inspired, started out with this beautiful sea sediment jasper, these tube beads, and then we added in some turquoise flowers, some gold accents, some vintage green cube beads that have like a little faceting on them. It is just a stunning box. I do not know at the time of this filming if the box is sold out or if it's still available. I think that we will be collaborating on another box soon. So it was really fun, and I love what we did. And I have to say, a lot of times I make jewelry and I just make it for the fun of making it. I make it because that's what the beads would suggest, but it's maybe not something I would wear or that is my style. I just love to make it. But what I'm making today is for me, it's my style, it's what I love. And I'm going to do two bracelets. Now, if you didn't see the unboxing of our collaboration, I can link that below. And my first video was a stunning necklace and earrings. I can pop some pictures up and also a link in the description box for that video, but this is my earrings that I made. And so these bracelets are going to coordinate with my jewelry set, and they can be worn together or alone. One of them is going to be wire components, and I'll be using this little scrap of chain that I love from Purity Beads, which is exciting news because I am an affiliate with them. So if you are a first-time customer to Purity Beads, you can use the link in my description box of this video and my code and get a discount on your first order. And again, if you're not familiar, they make high quality brass-based and copper-based findings for jewelry makers, and then they're electroplated, and then they have an e-coating for anti-tarnish, so they're really long lasting and very, sturdy to wear. And another exciting news is I introduced Stella of didi'sbeads to Purity Beads, and she is going to start having some of their items on her website as well. And I also have a code with didi'sbeads if you're a first-time customer. And so her links and that code will also be in the description box. So if you love anything that you see, I have, for your convenience, those links are there. So in the box, I saved out, when I opened it, I saved out the things that I wanted for all of the projects I plan to do. I separated my tube beads. I separated this beautiful like egg-shaped shimmer bead. I separated out these 2-hole beads and the flower beads, and then I went into my stash and I have 3 little piles of seed beads, which are my colors seed beads that I love the look. I don't exactly know what my patterns are going to be, so this is subject to change, but I just got these seafoamed lined seed beads in my Potomac treasure box, so they are left over from that. This is a craft store item. These are Miyuki Edo seed beads, and this is a Picasso chartreuse. I love these beads. I use these in the necklace that I made with the box. They look great with the vintage beads. And then I love these little seed beads for gold spacers. They are an Edo, and they are a galvanized perma finish, so the gold really stays nice, bright and shiny for a really long time. And I'll also be using some of those e-coated ball head pins, at least for this piece here. So I'm going to start with the easiest of the 2 bracelets, and I'll talk to you about this one when I get to it. But this one is super simple. This is a simple loop connectors. I'll be just making components out of the individual pieces, and I am just going to use some round medium tempered German style wire for that, and I'm going to be using my 1-step looper. Many of you have already seen me use this and heard me talk about it, but you can totally do your simple loops with your pliers if you prefer to do them that way. I have a little problem in my hand, and that constant twisting motion when I have to make a lot of components causes me trouble, and this tool really saves my hand. Plus, on a piece like this, what I love about it is that every single loop will be exactly the same. So I really love that. So when you're starting with your wire with no bead on it, you don't need to put the wire all the way through the tool, through the guide hole, because the tool cuts right here. So that just wastes, you know, ½ inch of wire. So I just place it just past the back jaw, and I'm just going to slowly close the tool. And you can skip this step that we would normally do with our pliers, where we make a nice clean blunt cut. You can skip that step with your pliers if you're using the one-step looper, because it does it for you. And then while I have the tool closed and I have it in my hand still, I just pull my wire down so that I can see my loop is now centered on that wire. And these are going to be little bar components, so I'm going to take my time to straighten the wire. You can even grab your nylon jaw pliers, which I often do. Again, I'm always trying to protect my hands because I make so much jewelry. It's really important for me. And then when I take the tool away, I got an absolutely perfect loop, and all of my other loops are going to look exactly like this. So all of these components, I'm not sure if they'll get strung the way that I have them laid out here, but every single one of these needs to be made into a little component. And I'm just going to play with the idea of these seed beads with the gold. I may or may not do that. I haven't really, I like to play with my pattern and play with my beads, and once I settle on my exact design, then it's just relaxing and fun. But I love this part too. I just love to play with my beads. I actually think that on this second bracelet that I am going to incorporate some green in it, and I was thinking that on this one I would stick with the turquoise, purple, and gold, but everything is subject to change when I start designing. I just really love to play with my supplies and just come up with what I think is my best possible combination. Okay, I just made a little decision. I think I'm not going to do every single bead in my pattern with the little turquoise seed bead. I think I'm only going to do one, and the rest of them are going to be just a plain bead on a rod, on a bar with a simple loop, and then I'm going to use these seed beads for my final drop. So let me make all of these components. So I'm just going to get a hold and slide my wire under the mandrel and through the guide hole, because now I have a bead on, and then I'll just close the tool slightly, and then I want to make sure that I pull my bead back about 1 millimeter just so that it's out of the way of the jaw of the plier. And then when I gently close it, it makes that nice clean cut, and then I just pull my bead away from the jaw of the plier as it closes. If I needed to, this is perfectly straight, but if it's not, while it's still in the tool, you can straighten up your loops, and when I remove it, I got another perfect loop. So sometimes, and I don't know why with a 2 1/4, sometimes the loop is not perfectly closed, which is fine with me. I'm not even going to fuss with them now because I have to open and close every single loop anyway to connect my bracelet. So I'm just going to keep going in that same way. This is the perfect example. You don't have to run your wire through the guide hole if it won't fit. The only thing this tool needs is for the wire to be past the back jaw of the plier, and that's where it makes a clean blunt cut and then wraps. And I need to make sure I have enough space to pull my bead away because I don't want to break my beautiful gemstone bead. So even with a tiny little scrap of wire, I can get another component, and I can see that that one really was in there kind of wonky. But you know, for me, simple loops are meant to be open and closed anyway, and I also like to put my plier on all my loops and just work hardened by opening and closing them. But that's that little component. So I'm going to make all the components, and I'll be right back and show you my next step. So So I decided what I was going to do when I paused to make all my links, and I pulled out a couple of jump rings that I had already made out of that same 20 gauge wire, and I decided on my little drop using one of those Purity Beads E-coated ball head pins. This is a little Purity Beads bumpy spacer and one of the beads from our box that I love so much, and just a little dot of turquoise just to pull in the little dot of turquoise on this link and in my flower and in my sea sediment jasper. And then I am going to be using this gold filled little lobster clasp. I found these on Amazon and I'm on my second or third order. It's like a selection of different shapes and sizes. I love these because this is like on a little ball inside, so it freely moves, and I'm going to connect that to this end. So I'm going to do that exact same thing with my final drop component and just put, in fact, I think I'm going to switch to my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper. I really like a smaller loop on a drop like this because I am going to attach it with a jump ring. And these are solid brass, so they are a little bit stiffer than the craft wire. So I have been finding when I make a simple loop with this that sometimes I have to go back in and close it. That one actually did pretty well, but I'll still put my pliers to everything. So I love this type of a project for a couple of reasons. Any skill level can do this. It's a simple loop. It's opening and closing jump rings and loops. It's basically attaching. So it is super easy. The other thing I love about this, it's perfect for layering with other bracelets, but it's also stunning to wear alone. And it is convertible into another piece of jewelry. When we get it connected, I will show you why. So from here, I am just going to start at one end and connect. Just make sure that all those loops are fully closed, and I'm going to come in with this little jump ring that I made. And I realized that I always just say open and close the jump ring, but I get messages from a lot of people that have just now decided to start making jewelry. So I'm going to try to give some little details to the different things that we do. So for opening and closing a jump ring, you never want to pull it apart because you will never get it back around again. You twist a jump ring open with a plier on each side. So you twist it like that to get it open. And I realized that I always neglect to say that when I'm showing what I'm doing because it's kind of basic, but it's only basic after you know how to do it, right? When you're just getting started, you need to know. So we do the same thing to close it, just twist it back together. And I can, kind of twist and push. And then on most jump rings, I will put my plier on the inside and just give it a little squeeze and just make sure that I have made a complete circle, because it is amazing how a little end of a jump ring or a little end of a piece of wire can be scratchy or snag a beautiful sweater or something. So I go very slowly. I love this part where I'm just connecting and seeing everything unfold. And like I said, I'm going to go loop by loop and just make sure that they're all closed really well and that I'm opening and closing my pliers on the loop to work hard in it. And just attach everything in the pattern that I have it laid out here. And while I'm attaching, I'm just going to kind of answer a question that I get a lot about the one-step looper. There are 3 sizes of it. There is the 1.5 millimeter, which is the smallest. That's what I just used to make this little drop here. And that is perfect if you're just doing earring drops, or if you're making a cluster and you need a simple loop on, all of the components in a cluster or cha-cha style bracelet. And then I used the medium, which is the 2.25 inch one-step, or 2.25 millimeter, I meant to say, one-step looper for these components, because a little bit larger loop when you're not planning to put a jump ring in between your components will make your piece more fluid and kind of like flow nicely around your wrist. And there is an even larger one. The 3mm makes a really nice large loop, and that's great for making chain and for making links like this. I use all three sizes. As you just saw when I was connecting, I decided to put a smaller loop on a charm than I would on my beaded chain here. But if you only have a budget for one, or you're not sure if you would even like that tool, and you just want to try it, the size that I would recommend is the 2 1/4. That medium size is kind of the sweet spot, and you can do pretty much everything that you need to do with the one that I used for these loops. So I hope that answers the questions. I do get a lot of questions about it. Okay, everything is connected, and so now I'm going to take this little jump ring that I made out of the same 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to connect this beautiful chain. It's my favorite chain pretty much of all time. It is embossed on both sides. It's oval, it's lightweight, it's really delicate, it's a brass base. Now, this is larger of a dangle than I would normally do, and it has a little bit of weight to it, but I love a dramatic bracelet like this. If you've been around my channel, you might have seen me do a similar design to this bracelet, because I love this. One of the reasons I love it is that I can create my pattern with whatever beads I love or which ones I have left, as in this case, and then complete the length of my bracelet by simply adding chain. The other reason I love this is that anybody can wear this. It fits. It literally will fit anybody because you have this extender chain here. So a person that needs a larger chain or likes their jewelry to be looser can do it that way, and if you want it to be a little bit tighter, you have all those connection points, so you can hook your clasp anywhere that you want on the bracelet. And the other reason that I absolutely love this, and I'm sorry I was wearing other bracelets to go out this morning, but the other reason that I love this is this can be an anklet, because we typically need an extra 1.5 to 2 inches to our anklets. Everyone's a different size, but this can be worn as an anklet very easily with that beautiful extender chain. Sometimes I will go back and remove a couple of links if I feel like it's getting in the way, but I absolutely love the drama of the dangle on the chain. So for me, that is just perfection. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's very adjustable as far as creating it and as far as wearing it, because if you wanted to make it a really short extender chain with only 2 or 3 links, you could, but if you're like me and you like that dangle and you like a bracelet like that that's moving, you can leave it longer. So this first little bracelet is completely done, and as I said, totally beginner friendly, because it is most basic skills of connecting and simple loops. I'm going to take it off and lay it here on my mat and move to my second bracelet here. So I have one jump ring. I have this little floral clasp that I had in my stash. I have purchased quite a few of those. I've used them on things. And then, as I said, these are the things that I kind of saved out from the collaboration box. And what I always do, I'm going to be using my beloved Brazilian waxed cord. This is the smaller millimeter. I don't have a marking on it. I only have the color in here is color 629, but it is the smaller diameter of the cord, and that's what I'm going to be using for my bracelet. And what you see here is just a little tester. I just wanted to see if it fit through all the beads that I wanted to put it through and how it looked. I always cut a little piece and do a test like that. So what I'm going to do is take this off. These are the coolest 2-hole beads, and I was even playing with what to do as an embellishment on top of my flower bead, because both of these cords do not go through the check glass flowers. One is going to have to hug the outside, and I was even thinking of putting these little gold Delica beads, and I think they're 15 O's, just kind of stringing a few on for sparkle for that part that lays across the flower. So I am going to do basically this. where I'm using the 2 hole beads to create my pattern, but I do want a little bit more seed beads in here. Like I said, this was just my tester to make sure that everything fit, and it does. So I usually just do that, a little scrap, and check it out. And then if you're new to knotting and this technique, whatever length you need, you can double, triple, I even quadruple. Like in this case, I need my length, which is going to be 7 inches, but then I have to make it 14 because it's got to go up and back down. And then I am going to double that because I don't exactly know how many knots I am going to be making, and knotting eats up a lot of length of your cord. So I'm going to do like a 28-inch piece, and maybe even, I'm pretty generous with it, maybe even give myself even a little bit extra. So I'm just going to cut my length here. To me, it's better to have a little scrap left over that I can save for little earring drops or making tassels than it is to run short for my project. So you can tie in, but generally, that's not the best. And I'm going to start by just getting these 2 ends together and finding the middle. I want 2 separate cords, and an angled cut is good on the Brazilian wax cord. And if you want to take the time to put a little clear nail polish or some super glue here and make the ends stiff, you can, but I don't find it's necessary. When I test and I see that my cord fits through the beads that I want to use, I just activate that wax by twisting and pushing and pinching, and it makes like a little natural needle. So I'm just going to start by stringing 2 of my little tubes on here and just kind of get my pattern. I know that I wanted a gold bead against each tube because that's what I did in my necklace. I've kind of flanked these beautiful purples and turquoises with the gold. So I know that I'm going to want it to do that. And normally I would tie my ends onto at least one end of my clasp, but today I'm not going to do that. Today I'm just going to play and get my pattern going, and I'll decide at the end exactly how I want to tie off, because for right now I just want to do some pattern play and just play around with my beads and get my length right. So that's what I'm going to do first, is just kind of string on some seed beads. And I do think I really want this vintage cube to be in this bracelet, so that means I need to bring in a little bit of green in the seed beads just to make it all look purposeful and cohesive. And I love, green is neutral, and I love how it livens up everything. It livens up the turquoise, it livens up the purple. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to start stringing. I want to have some negative space with the green beads. So I'm going to do all of this off camera, get my pattern idea sorted out. And when I have this part done, because it's so repetitive, when I have this part done, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do the knotting. Okay, I have a really cool idea. I have never done this before, so I really hope that it will work. But I started off with literally no knots. I've just strung my 2 pieces of cord parallel through the 2 hole beads and then creating those little stations, so it looks like that. And now what I'm going to do, I've pulled these down so that I have plenty of length here to complete my pattern, which I believe is going to be something like that, and I'll mix in the seed beads. And so what I'm going to do is just grab a little bead bug and just kind of hold those together for now. And then on this end, I'm going to come right here and make a big giant loop. And the purpose of this is that I want 4 strands on this end. So I'm going to come down right, in fact, let me do a knot here first, just an overhand knot. And for those of you who are new to the way that I do knotting, if you are new here, I get so many comments of people that just found my channel. I love to use a knotting tweezer. It is a long, skinny, precision tip tweezer, and I just love it. I feel like I have total control of where my knots are going to land. So I'm going to reach inside the loop and get a hold of both of my cords. And since the other end isn't closed off yet, this is not super crucial, but I don't normally work like this. I normally would start and have one end knotted off and build my bracelet, but I'm doing this one a little bit differently. But then when I pull the cord, and see, I can already see that because with a knotting tweezer, wherever your tweezer tip is, when you tighten your knot, that's where it lands. And I can already see it's too far away from my bead. It's a little bit tricky when you have a 2-hole bead or a really wide bead. It's a little bit tricky to get a hold of it, which is, you know, why the tweezer can really come in handy. So I'm just going to go again and come sideways. I just want to make sure that I'm getting as close to the bead as possible. There. Now when I pull, that knot is right where my tip of my tweezer is, and now I can tighten it. Okay, and now I'm going to loop this back around and just leave a couple of little tails right here, and I'm going to make another knot. So I'm literally have gone from having 2 strands to work with to having 4 strands to work with. And there's a reason for that. I'm kind of excited about this design. So let me get my knot tight, get everything in place. I have a little bit. Let me go again before I tighten this down and have my knot not where I want it. I'm just going to go again. Leave myself a little tail there. I might even be able to do this one more easily without the knotting tweezer. Let me see. Okay, that looks good. Now I will tell you, waxed cord does kind of grab onto itself, and it does make a really nice firm knot, but I am a gluer. I am going to put a little GS Hypo Cement in this knot before I cut anything or go any further. I just like the security. I'm having a little trouble with my tube of GS Hypo Cement. I might have to get a new tube. Let me do the Beadle-on bead string and glue. These are the 2 glues that I use when I'm knotting, and they have really fine precision tips, so you can literally direct your glue right inside your knots, front and back. And like here, and I always do this before I trim away, and it dries clear, so you don't have to worry about seeing it. The glue does keep flowing out of these tubes, so you have to get your pin, your little needle pin, right back in pretty quick. And now I'm going to take my scissors and cut this loop. And now I have 4 strands to work with. And what I plan to do with these 4 strands is create a little seed bead grouping here. And I'm going to play with this. I'm going to string seed beads on each of the 4 strands individually. And I'm going to play with alternating the green and the turquoise. But when I've done this in the past, I've done all the same seed beads because it sort of looks like a beaded bead or like a living bead. And I'm going to do 6. Let me do 6 on each strand, and I'm going to try it and see how I feel about mixing in this seafoam lined, which is kind of a turquoise bead. I'm going to see how it looks. Okay, they aren't exactly the same size. I think I'm going to stick with the green, at least for this first section. Okay, once I have 6 seed beads strung on each of those 4 strands, then I'm going to bundle them together and do a knot. And I think that looks gorgeous, and it's going to be great with my vintage square bead, cube bead that's going to be on this end. So here's where a knotting tweezer is really helpful, because with 4 little bundles of seed beads and 4 strands, it's a little bit to manage to get your knot exactly where you want it. So I'm going to reach inside and try to grab all 4 and get that knot really, really close to my little bundle of seed beads. You can organize it a little bit before you tighten the knot down. That is so cool. It's like a little beaded bead almost. So pretty. Okay, and then I think I have the space to do 1 more, and I just will need to decide if I want to do another green or if I want to switch to turquoise. So I'm going to switch back to designing this end of my bracelet so I can make those kind of color decisions. And here on these, I can decide when I'm all finished if I want to have little tassels or some little fringiness or simply trim it away. So I'm going to also let this hang out until the very end. So I'm going to do the same thing on this end that I did where this 2-hole bead was, and just tie an overhand knot and get it as close to that bead as I can and really secure it. So with the Brazilian waxed cord, your knots kind of act as spacers, so you get that little dot of color from the cord. But the other thing I love about it is that it's so fluid. Like your pieces really flow around your body, and I just really love kind of the softness, and they're lightweight because it's just waxed cord. It's not metal or anything, so it just makes such a beautiful bracelet and necklace. So then from here, I just have to decide my pattern, and I think that I'm going to put 1 gold seed bead through both cords. And then let's see, on my vintage cube bead, only 1 cord would fit through that, but I think my flower is going to go on next. And I already know that on the flower bead, 1 of the cords has to hug the outside, because these little check glass flowers have really tiny holes, so tiny I can't even find it. There it is. Yeah, it's a really, really small hole. But that's okay. I love this cord, and so no matter which way I wear the bracelet, I was actually playing with the idea of threading some of these little Delica 11-0 Delicas right across the front of the flower. Let me dump out a few and just play with that idea. You could just let the color of the cord lay across the flower, but I'm just going to play with this idea of embellishing the cord that's going to be across the top. That little check glass flower. I just want to look at it, and I'll determine if it's taking away from the beauty of the check glass flower or actually adding a layer of beauty to it. Is my microphone picking up the rain? It's so lovely. It's such a beautiful sound, and we need the rain so badly. My neighborhood is built on a lake, and we also have 2 ponds, and both of the ponds are just like dirt holes because we need the rain so badly. So I love a day when I can listen to the sound of the rain. I love a day when I can listen to the sound of the rain and make a piece of jewelry. It is just a happy day. Here's where I often wish that some of my creative friends were sitting at my work table with me when I'm trying something completely new, when I get a new idea and I'm just sitting here by myself trying to decide if it's a good idea or not. This is when I wish some of you were sitting here with me to give me your opinion. What do you think? Do you like that little bit, that little line of gold across the top of the flower? I think I like it. I think I really like it. It's like a little, I can still see the embossing on the flower and the shape of it, but it has that little like snazzy pop of gold. So I think I'm going to go with it. I'm going to do the same thing, double my threads and put another gold bead through, put 2 strands through another gold bead before I do my knot. And they move a little bit. I like that. Oh, that is so pretty. Look at that. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Okay, and then I'm going to separate these strands and go to my 2-hole
my
bead
big old
here.
rain frog is back on my windowsill.
Oh my goodness, do you guys hear him? He's driving me crazy a little bit. Okay, I don't care for that. Let me see. That's pretty. Just string it directly down to the knot. Okay, I think I will put another gold bead. And I want to stop for a moment and just check my length. Okay, I'm right on track with my length. And let's see, here I will need to separate again my cords. That is so pretty. I like it even with the pink cord showing. I love that. So far, I am loving this little bracelet. Oh wow, this is so pretty. I love this. Let me check my length again and see. Okay, I can add another little bundle of beads. I think I can get another little bundle of beads, and I think I'm going to switch to a little turquoise bundle with my 4 strands. Okay, let me just gather this up, and before I tie a knot and commit to it, I just want to see what my green and turquoise look like next to each other. Oh, that is really pretty. I love that. Okay, same thing here. I'm going to gather this up, make an overhand knot. And reach inside that loop. And gather up my little bundle here. Okay, and I have just enough left to tie on one end of my clasp, and I can do that and then check my length. I had to take a little pause. There was an interruption and the storm was really loud. So it gave me a chance to kind of check my length. And I did have this left over from my other projects and it looks great, but it's just going to make this bracelet a little bit too long for me. So I'm going to just finish here and tie my clasp on with some jump rings. And also while I was paused, I was deciding what to do with my little cut ends of my cord that I looped back. And I really kind of like the idea of this little kind of extra beaded tassel. And I think on this bracelet, I won't put another charm. I usually add something dangling somewhere. And you know, that's the wonderful thing about making our own jewelry is if I decide that I don't love this little dangle part, I can snip this right here and have a nice clean dot. And then if I want to come back with a jump ring and another little wire wrapped loop charm of some sort, I can do that. So I absolutely love making my own jewelry for that reason. And I just want to decide, I want to make this second little dangle a little bit longer than the first one, and I wanted this knot to be kind of thick, so I'm looping my end back through twice. And I even use my knotting tweezer for this because I can reach inside and kind of place my knot where I want it. So I do want this one a little bit longer, and that's where I'm going to tighten it down. And on the other side I did another knot right on top of that just to make it nice and thick. Okay, and then what I did is just left myself like 1/4 of an inch and take the tip of my knotting tweezers and just separate all the little twisted fibers in this cord, and it kind of looks like a little fringy tassel on the end. So like I said, I'm going to wear this for a while like that and just let those hang out. I think it's kind of sweet. I have, like I say, this is something I have never done, like to go from 2 strands and loop back to give myself 4 strands. It just came to me as I was doing this because I really wanted these seed beads in, and I think it's really beautiful. And so now on this side, I'm just going to do another knot. I think I'll separate these 2 cords, and I will put glue. I like to glue even when I do a bead weaving project. I will do glue. I don't know, it just makes me feel that I've done a good job, I guess. So I'm just going to tie a jump ring right on. Just do a couple of knots. Really nice tight knots. And like I said, I always put my glue and let it dry before I trim that away. And I will do that again. And this can be drying while we work on the other end. I don't know if my microphone is picking up the thunder, but it is really stormy. Such a perfect day for making jewelry. Okay, I'm going to close this really well. Oh, let's see. I wanted to put the flower. I'm going to reverse. I wanted to put this little end of this toggle on this side just because, and this is just the way that my eye sees it, but because I have a flower and a cube here, I just wanted to put this flower on this end. Let me open it a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to get attached right there, and then this will get attached to this end. And I'm going to tie right onto this jump ring. Same thing. When I have my knot just the way that I want it, I will put a little bit of glue. And I even will take my pliers and, you know, give it a nice tug. and glue. Now I can check my length. Oh, I think I got it perfect. I have all these little cords in the way of trying it on, and I will trim them away. We'll trim them off, but I just want to give the glue a chance to dry just a little bit more. Yeah, all this is going to get trimmed away, but I can see that I got my length just perfect. And then I'll wear this for a little bit and decide if I like these little fringy things here. A lot of times when I do a bracelet like this, I leave the fringe like on one end, but I just did this one a little bit differently. The beads kind of spark some creativity for me, and so I'm going to leave it like that for a bit. And I am totally finished with these two bracelets. They were fun and easy and the absolute perfect projects for a rainy day. Let me see if I am ready to trim away. But I will definitely put some pictures up at the end of the video so you can see them without all of the little and the little done extra cords. I am so excited and thrilled with these two bracelets. I could easily wear them together or separately. I'm just so happy with them. And I thank you so much for watching and for spending time on my beading mat today. If you have not subscribed to my channel, it would be a lovely way to support my work. And I will leave links in the description box, as I said at the beginning, to Didi's Beads and to Purity Beads. And I work pretty hard on my description boxes, so anything else that I've used, my gold filled clasps, anything else that I've used that I think you might be interested in, I put those links for your convenience, and if you use them, it helps out the channel. So I hope everyone is enjoying their summer and you're safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. See you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.